Human resources (HR) and personnel are primarily interchangeable terms that are accustomed to describe the services and procedures related to the acquisition, management, associate degree disposal of employees in an organization. These services and procedures usually include recruitment, training, assessment, pay and pensions, industrial relations, recreational and health services, disciplinary procedures, terminations, retirement counseling, and conformist with employment legislation. In smaller organizations, these procedures would usually kind of part of the road manager's responsibilities. In medium-sized organizations, say, quite 50 employees, these procedures are typically delegated to varied extents to specialist staff, often known as personnel or 60 minutes officers. Managers, UN agency could report on to a line manager. In several giant organizations, say, quite 500 employees, these specialist personnel or 60 minutes staff typically add a separate department that contains a truthful degree of organizational autonomy, and should even report directly at board level. The personnel pioneers. The tradition of personnel and 60 minutes work are often derived back to the economic revolution, once giant teams of individuals were being assembled in factories for the primary time. Within the absence of any trade, labor, unions or a lot of legislative protection, employees throughout the developed world were treated terribly poorly. Within the early 19th century, operating weeks of 70 hours or a lot of were common, as was the utilization of kid labor. But for a combination of ethical, non-secular and pragmatic reasons, a lot of enlightened US and United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland employers selected to order the welfare of their employees. In the USA, brothers Edward and Lincoln Filenes were drawing huge crowds to their innovative Beantown sales outlet. The Filenes conjointly instituted a percentage program, a pay for girls, a 40-hour work week, health clinics, paid vacations, associate degreed and worker union. In 1908, along with their personnel manager, Ralph Albertson, and his shut friend Frank Parsons, the Filenes actively supported the creation of a Vocation Bureau for Beantown. This bureau before long became a keystone for the event of the new profession of personnel management. They created an area network of employers that 4 years later was to become the premise of the Beantown Employment Managers Association (EMA). In England, the Quaker chocolate businessperson Joseph Rowntree was a serious player within the intensely competitive United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and North Yank confectionery markets. In 1890, Rowntree asked his teenage son Seebohm to require on the new post of Labour Director. Along they introduced free health and tending, company pensions, a works canteen, college rooms, a gymnasium, widows' profit fund, paid holidays and a council. Seebohm Rowntree conjointly applied influential studies into community financial condition and in 1913 helped created the Welfare Workers Association (WWA), the first precursor of the UK's current Hyde Institute of Personnel and Development. During warfare I, each within the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and also the US, personnel apply was preoccupied with collection and motivating giant teams of employees. In the UK, Seebohm Rowntree was appointed Welfare Director of British People Department that controlled weapon provide, and by the top of war quite 3.5 million were utilised in these industries together with around 1,300 welfare officers. Within the US it had become a legal demand that every one federal contractors use personnel managers, and by 1917 the Beantown EMA had become a epitome for EMAs across the US. 10 of those set to merge to become the National Association of Employment Managers. The NAEM became the Economic Relations Association, then the National Personnel Association and eventually, in 1923, the Yank Management Association. As a result, personnel management was to lack a selected national voice within the US, United States, United States of America, America, US, USA, USA, North Yank Country, North American nation, till 1948 once the American Society for Personnel Administration was based. From Hawthorne to 60 Minutes in the 20s and 30s, a major contribution to the event of personnel management thinking came from associate degree Australian-born Harvard educational, Elton Mayo. Mayo's analysis of employees' reactions to modified operating conditions at Western Electric's Hawthorne industrial plant crystal rectifier to groundbreaking concepts on motivation. This, in turn, fashioned the premise of the human relations movement that verified influential within the interwar years. Within the 1940s, Ibrahim Maslow delineated his hierarchy of desires, and within the 50s, town nuclear physicist coined the term job enrichment. However, at around the same time Peter Drucker was questioning whether or not the personnel management was bankrupt. Within the 60s, there was the emergence of terms like human capital theory, the data employee and human resource accounting. In the 1980s, will increase in state contributed to a hardline approach to industrial relations very often spearheaded by the personnel operate. This coincided with a widespread rebranding of the operators human resources (HR). Currently within the 21st century, several organizations have associate degree 60 minutes director with equivalent standing to the money director. Wherever this can be the case, the 60 Minutes operate might also have a job within the organization's approach to balanced scorecards, company social responsibility and data management. This strategic role looks to be a lot of common in steady-state organizations, e.g. the general public sector or non-public sector organizations during a dominant market position. In different organizations, a mixture of technology, outsourcing and globalization have typically attended confer a lot of subordinate role on the 60 Minutes operate.